Hi everybody. So on this episode of the Crime Lab, words are apparently very difficult for me today. I'm going to talk about Vera. I think her last name is pronounced Renczi. I could be slightly wrong about that. It's Renczi. So it's either like Renzi or Ren. I don't know. That's the pronunciation that I've got. So she is dubbed as the Black Widow, Mrs. Poison, and the Chatelaine of Burkercool. So she's a Romanian serial killer, and she allegedly confessed to killing 35 individuals, including two husbands, multiple lovers, and her son with arsenic during the 1920s. So with this case and this person, there's actually very limited actual sources that people are able to link to her that are actually legitimate. So it's believed that this person is based off of somebody else. They're not 100% sure that she actually existed. There are some potential records of her from when she was young, but not all of them can be verified. So like I said, there's no traceable details of her birth, any marriages, arrests, convictions, incarcerations, or even her death. So this is just kind of what some people are able to piece together. So many of the murders that this woman Vera is claimed to have done were done around Burkercool, Yugoslavia, which is now Serbia, or Bekarec, which as of 1946, or right after World War II, I'm going to attempt to pronounce this, Zrenjanin, Zrenjanin. If people haven't noticed in some of my videos, I don't speak any other languages aside from English. So attempting to do foreign and international serial killers is sometimes a little difficult when I can't pronounce the cities or the person's actual name. So if anybody speaks any of those languages and can pronounce them better, I apologize, and feel free to call me out in the comments. So like I said, there's a lot of conflicting information, so this is what I was able to find about her. She was born in Bucharest around 1903, but some sources say that like the late 19th century, so like the 1890s would have been a closer estimate to when she was born. And then her mother died when she was around 13, and her and her father moved to Zrenjanin, Serbia, where she attended a boarding school. And then during that time, while she was at the boarding school, she became increasingly unmanageable and actually ran away from home on multiple occasions with boyfriends who were significantly older than her. And during this time, she was around 15 years old. So one of her childhood friends actually claimed that Vera had an almost pathological desire for male attention, and she was a very, very jealous person, and she had a very suspicious nature, which would kind of come into play later on during relationships when she got older. So then at 19 years old, she married an Austrian banker who was very wealthy named Karl Schick. And she was left at home, so she was essentially like a stay-at-home wife while her husband went to work. And during the times that he would go to work, she would suspect him to be unfaithful to her on multiple occasions. So she decided to start poisoning him with arsenic. And then after he died, because he did end up passing away, she told friends, families, neighbors that he just abandoned her. And then after a year of mourning, where she was like, oh yeah, he abandoned me. He's not coming back. He left me for somebody. She claimed to get a report that he died in an accident, in a car accident, when she knew outright that she had just killed him. So then, after the alleged car crash, so this was about a year after she had killed her first husband, she married another guy who was much closer to her own age. And again, this relationship was very, very tumultuous. And again, she suspected him of cheating. So then, less than a year later, he just up and vanished, and she again told friends and family that she was abandoned by him. And then later on, several months later, claimed to have received a letter from him saying that he was leaving her completely, and he was going to start a new life with a new woman. And that was actually her last marriage. So she was only married twice and killed both men. And, even though she didn't marry again, she continued to have multiple relationships, many affairs with married men, some of them in secret, some of them very, very public. And these men would vanish within a few days, a few weeks, a few months of, being in some level of a relationship with her. And she would continually claim, like, oh yeah, we were in a relationship, but they abandoned me or were unfaithful, so we broke up. And actually, during this spree of poisoning her lovers, she was actually caught. Mainly because of the wife of the person that she was having a relationship with. So this last guy, his name was Millerad. He was a bank officer. His wife, who was not Vera, reported him missing to the police because she hadn't seen him in over a day. But initially she was ignored by the police. So then the wife started investigating what was going on and found out that Vera was her husband's mistress. And so then went back to police and was like, hey, this lady is, or was at least, sleeping with my husband. She's probably the last person that saw him alive. You need to go talk to her. So they did. They went to her place. And due to her influence and apparent beauty, police was just like, oh yeah, no worries, you're fine. So then the wife, who was not pleased with the fact that the cops just let Vera go, was like, so did you find my husband? What's going on? And so then when the cops couldn't answer that, the wife went to Vera and was like, hey, what the hell? Where's my husband? You were the last person to see him. And, I know you had a son and 2 previous husbands. Where are they? She starts questioning Vera. So then the police then went back to talk to Vera. And this time, Vera, even though the first time the police went there, she confirmed, oh yeah, he was my lover, but, he's not here. This time, Vera was like, oh yeah, no, we were never lovers. Even though there was alleged proof through a love letter that they were together to some extent. So then they got a search warrant, which even at the time was needed to be able to search property. And so they found a locked cellar, and were able to get in. They found 35 zinc-lined coffins inside the cellar and a large armchair. So the 35 coffins were kind of made into a circle. There's a large armchair with some candles and an empty champagne bottle right in the middle of this circle. So, of course, police are like, what the hell's going on? What is all this? Vera claimed that all the coffins were of family members, and sitting in the chair just made her feel close to them. Which, creepy as all hell, but they don't necessarily have the proof right away to be able to be like, oh no, you're lying, these are all of your lovers. But then they actually opened one of the coffins and found a decomposing man in it. And so then they opened more of the coffins, and all of them were of decomposing men. So then finally she admitted, yeah, these are some of my ex-lovers. They died, and I liked sitting in the armchair while I drank and had candles because it made me feel close to them. So then, like I said, she at that point had admitted that she had killed these men with arsenic. So then she was convicted of 35 murders for the 35 men that were found in her cellar, and sentenced to death. But in Yugoslavia at the time, they did not execute women, so they condemned her to life in prison. And apparently during the trial, so this would have been early to mid 1900s. She actually started showing signs of early dementia, which could explain some stuff, but not a lot. And her dementia actually became increasingly worse while she was in prison, because there's claims that she ended up actually talking to her victims, and screaming obscenities at them. And then ultimately she died in prison in 1960. Now, like I said at the very beginning, this story has very little to no evidence actually saying like this person was actually a real person and these murders happened, because there's no original source material that anyone can find. It is possible that it's based on convictions and other records that were potentially lost during the turmoil of Eastern Europe, but many people believe that Vera was actually a work of fiction based on multiple different accounts. Like I said, there's no foolproof evidence that this woman actually existed, which is very interesting to me. So if anybody has any people or topics that they'd like me to talk about, feel free to leave it down in the comments. I'm always looking for ideas of videos to do and stuff to research. So let me know what you guys think. Have a great one, everybody.